Hello, and we're back. Beeping Deeply, podcast 12. This one's entitled Just Pure Lorn. That'll be Lorn. One of my favorite artists ever. Discovered him 7 or so years ago, and just follow him heavily. Always exciting to know what he's going to put out next. Always quality. Just some epic sound design, the mastering, the melodies, the synths, the modular. It's all on point, all very inspirational, sounds really good. And it's usually backed up by some incredible videos. I'll mention the ones that maybe you should head on over to YouTube for, if you'd like to check them. And just leaves me, before I run the first track, just to say, check me out my tunes if you like. Heavily inspired recently, at least by Lorn, a lot of them. That'll be deeper.co.uk. That's deep and then deeper. Anyway, moving on to the first track. The background track is Ice by Lorn. And this is going to be a whole hour of him being a bad man. So the first track is Anvil. This is a chill, melodic-y, beautiful one. This is one you should definitely check the video out for. Yeah, it's like, the video is like emergence phenomena. Yeah, just rendered into a black and white cartoon form, and a kind of little story to it. And it's quite incredible. If you don't know what I mean by emergence phenomena, look that up in the dictionary. Or Wikipedia. I still like you have a dictionary nowadays. Anyway, here's the track Anvil by Lorn. Running now. Yeah, just epic. That is some epic music. I love it. Next up, we have a track called Inverted by him, which is a bit of a creeper. Yeah, the noise boop, 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 reminds me of something else actually. I think a really old track by someone called Spongle. It goes, boop, 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 boop. This track got me through a difficult time in my life. I'm not going to elaborate, but it did. So here it is, Inverted. Yes, nice. Next up, I Am a Dagger, which came out on the Remnant album, EP? Yeah, album, I think, on Wednesday Sound. This is it, I Am a Dagger. Moody name, moody track, but really cool. Yeah, next up is Acid Rain. Definitely one to check the video for. Head on over to YouTube and type in Lorn Acid Rain. Yeah, it's a trippy video. It's, do you know what, I'm going to tell you a little bit, do you know what, I'm not going to spoil it completely, but it's just shot trippily, cleverly done, sort of reverse cheerleading girls coming out of a car accident. Sounds insane, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of Lorn's videos are very out there, but they're very well made, and I suggest you check them out. Good stuff on YouTube. Anyway, here's Acid Rain, Lorn. was Acid Rain by Lorn. The following track has another great video. Check it out, Weigh Me Down by Lorn. It's really cool. It's like this little animated 8-bitty sort of character dude, like a little sort of horny, sort of human, devilly sort of dude who just runs around in this animated world, and I won't give it away, but it's really cool. I also just love the production on this track and the singing, the vocals, yeah, I love those too, and it's just generally awesome. So yeah, here we go, Weigh Me Down by the bad man, Lorn. That was Weigh Me Down by Lorn. Check the video out, you won't regret it. So next up, we've got Memory Management. This is a track from the Remnant EP. Again, Wednesday sound, and it's more chilled, yeah, deeply chilled. Just like my voice at this time. I've just been watching Alan Partridge. Oh, it cracks me up, that show. Also, occasionally it just comes to my mind, because, you know, being a radio presenter, at least obviously a fictional one, makes me laugh a lot. I'm going to try and not be too much like him, but, you know, he's still pretty amusing at times, so you've got to get in there some ways. I guess a better example would be John Peel, who I would be so happy to be like, because he was a total legend. He broke a lot of artists, a lot of ones that I'm really into as well, and helped promote them a lot on Radio 1. May he rest in peace, John Peel. Total legend. Yeah, anyway, next up, it's Memory Management. So yeah, I just thought there, mentioning John Peel, that I should mention, yeah, just also it occurred to me that he had such a soothing voice. It was just lovely, and it was the time of the night, and it just soothed you. Not the most soothing voice ever. That would have to go to Ringo Starr for me personally on the Thomas the Tank Engine voiceover, where he'd talk about Thomas. I'm not going to try and do an impression of it. I should actually get a tiny bit. Oh, you know, I should sample a little bit of him on Thomas the Tank Engine. That would be awesome. Yeah, that would sound really good. I'm going to have to get around to doing that at some point. So that was Memory Management. The next track is Debris. This one's a bit more moody. Not unpleasantly moody, obviously. Just has a synthy sort of noise in it. That's another classic impression by me of a synth. Don't know, give it 30% quality there. Obviously you're never going to reach the ability to beatbox synths, but yeah, here's the track, Debris. So yeah, that's a track and a half and 3/4, and yeah, I'll just leave that series of numbers. Yeah, I love that one. I love all of these tracks, to be honest. Equally, like they're my children, but they're not my children, they're Lorn's children. And very interesting, all over the place children they are. Okay, I don't know where this metaphor is getting a bit crap. So I'm going to just move on to the next track, which is Diamond. This one's got some cool, it sounds a bit like a violin, but it doesn't. It sounds like a synthy violin, but usually synthy violins don't sound very nice, but this one's pretty cool. Diamond is a track. Oh, and I just remembered it's got a really cool video on YouTube. Another one about a little sort of animated, sort of old school video game character. Here's the track, Diamond. Yes, nice track, Diamond there by Lorn. Liking that one as usual. Check the video out. Like I said, it's really cool. He's got so many good videos. I've said that already, but I'm just repeating myself. Next up, Through the Fire from the EP Drown the Traitor Within. Yeah, that's fairly moody. You know, it's fine to be moody if you want. You know, it's especially in art and music. Lorn with Drown the Traitor Within. Reminds me on the subject of Lorn's moodiness, well, titles more than the actual, you know, names of tracks. There's one called, yeah, that's the one. I don't really listen to it, but I always sticks in my head as a moody title. It's called There Ain't Nothing. It's just pain and then you're gone. Very existentially moody title of a track. Yeah, you know, not complaining, just stuck in my head because it's, you know, a bit depressing. Don't know what the tune's like, but yeah, I find the rest of Lorn incredibly beautiful on various levels, not depressing. Anyway, here we go with Through the Fire track. Quality, yes, another great track there. Next up, we have Far, F-A-R-R in capital letters. That track comes from Rarities. At some point, Lorn released, this track, the one that's playing now, Far by Lorn, came out on Rarities compilation. He just released 31 not tracks at once. Old stuff he'd done, a few extra little thingamajigs. It was really cool. It came out, I think, 2019, and here it is. And this is quite a beast, Far. Stomper there. Yeah, I like that. As I like all these tracks, I wouldn't play them. Next up we have Drawn Out Like an Ache. I was thinking, the thing about Lorn that I've noticed is his structure of his tracks are just not the normal. They come in and half of them will be, sometimes even 2/3, sort of ambient beginnings and building, and it'll come the drop, and I like that. Got to keep your music a bit surprising and original if you can. Anyway, here we are. Drawn Out Like an Ache on the Remnant release. Yes, nice. So we're back. It's me, 5D, aka Deep and Beeper, on my podcast, Beeping Deeply. I hope you're enjoying the Lorn, just pure Lorn episode. Just had to dedicate one to him because he's such a total legend. I think, this is the first dedicated to one whole artist podcast, but after this we got a little run of them. The next one is D-Bridge, dedicated to him, then an artist called Music, then Aphex Twin, and then one for David Bowie, and that's the plan, the next few podcasts, and then we'll back to some other stuff. I'm not going to go and list all of them, but lots more exciting stuff coming up, special guests, different genres, different labels, different stuff and things. Hope you like it. So next up we have Sega Sunset. I love this track by Lorn. This is one of the earliest ones I really got into. It had an incredible video. Actually, I think it's a fan video. It's not an official video. Someone's just mixed some Akira film. Akira film. A little shout out to Akira there. One of the best movies ever. A little manga film, I should say, that I haven't actually seen. But it just looks so cool. The visuals just go perfectly with the sound. So run on over to YouTube again. I'm promoting YouTube a lot, but not really promoting it. I just love the videos for Lorn. They kick the butt, so to speak. Here we go, Sega Sunset by the Badman. Yeah, running now. Yes. So that was Sega Sunset. I'm just going to do a quick introduction here. Next up, Oxbow B. This is Oxbow B. Yeah, so that one was Oxbow B, which I just re-listened to after not having heard really heard, because sometimes, yeah, I just discovered it because I needed to reach an hour, and I only had about 55 minutes of Lorn tunes that I queued up. But yeah, that was good, a bit more moodier than his normal tracks, but yeah, sounding is nice and well made, and I can't think of too many adjectives that I want to say right now, but yeah, just brilliant, nice, quality, tasty for your ears. So yeah, now we're moving on to we're almost there. I think this is not the penultimate track because I don't know what it is. I don't think there's a word for the third last. Triultimate, Trump. Get that word out of my mouth. God, scary. I don't know where that came from. Disturbia. Okay, well, here we go. This is Lorn with Guardian. Bit more of an upbeat one. Smashing around the place. Guardian 2, I should say. Here it is. Dropping now. Yeah, nice. That was a BT dancey, upbeat vibes kind of tune. Lorn smashing it about, as I mentioned previously. Moving to the penultimate tune. This is Power, P-A-W-A, Power, Peru. I don't know. Here it is. Yeah, you just got to love the way as well. It's the attention to detail. There's little noises that come along just at the very end of a track. Attention to detail, I believe that's called. Yeah, and it's just, he's a master. So yeah, Ice has been the interluding music, the one that's playing right now. And then we're moving on. We are moving on. But to the final track I'm going to play, last one of this hour. That is Entangled. Yeah, one thing I like about this one is it's got a really super long, like 2 or 3 minute outro, where it sort of just fades out, just really slowly, just fading and fading. It inspired me to actually do that in a track I did with Jiff called Lost in the Impossible Puzzle, Deep and Beeper, featuring Jiff. Check that out if you want. It's on Lost on in the Impossible Puzzle EP. Yeah, I just did that sort of thought about doing that sort of ending, and that's what I did, and I think it was quite nice. Yeah, but this is Entangled by Lorn, just doing it the best. Alright, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!